What is your response to the comments made by Chief McSween and Justice Minister Fraser?
Well, let's start with Sean Fraser's comments. He says it's not the Wild West out there. Oh, really? Maybe he should talk to Mr. Faruqi's family, this courageous and heroic man who came to the defense of his children, children who will be traumatized for the rest of their life by watching their father mercilessly killed by a criminal who should be in the slammer. And I hope that those children will, as much as their lives are going to be much more difficult, I hope that as they get older, they understand the true hero that their father was. I'm sure he didn't want to be defending his family. He wanted to be sleeping in bed like the rest of us, but he did it because of the instinct of a father to stand and fight and defend his home and his family from an invader. He shouldn't have had to, but liberal laws turned criminals free on our streets again and again and again.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Aurora, Ontario, in front of the York Regional Police Headquarters. And folks, the reason why we're here is to do an update on the horrific death of Abdul Aleem Faruqi. He's the Vaughan man who paid the ultimate price for defending his family in the wee hours of the night against a home invader. Now, what's incredible in the terms of tone deafness is that the chief of the York Regional Police yesterday had a press conference in which, well, you know what? I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to say. He seems to be implying that we should be passive victims when it comes to a home invasion.
Premier can make his own statement and his own mind up about that. What I would say is, as a police service, we'll follow the laws as they're written. If the laws change, we'll change with the laws. But as it stands, we know the best defense for most people is to comply. As you've just heard, a number of safety recommendations will allow for those that are victimizing members in the community to leave and not harm anyone. It sometimes can fall on deaf ears when members feel like they have to take matters into their own hands. And the only thing I'd say is, if we are going to rely on our community members to take matters into their own hands to solve this problem, we have all failed our community. I've been down at Queen's Park. I've provided comments on bail reform. So have many of my colleagues across the GTA. And here we are again talking about it. And it seems like in some cases, right, we have not moved the needle collectively, because this is not just a police issue. Unfortunately, when it becomes our issue, it's too late. So we need to do something about this issue around bail and about keeping those people off the streets that shouldn't be on the streets.
So what are you supposed to do when the home invader comes in armed with lethal force? You're supposed to hide under your bed. You're supposed to offer to brew him a cup of tea. It sounds to me, like I said earlier, that the chief wants citizens, law-abiding taxpayer citizens, to be compliant victims. This is crazy. In any event, just an hour ago, my cameraman Maurizio and I, we took in a Pierre Poilievre presser in Toronto, and I got to get a question to Mr. Poilievre, and it was about this very subject, home invasions in general, and what Chief McSween and Justice Minister Sean Fraser have had to say recently. Check it out.
Yes.
Thank you. Second question. Yes, Mr. Poilievre, David Menzies with Rebel News.
Yes, David.
Mr. Poilievre, literally as we are speaking right now, just a little bit north of this hotel in Vaughan, a funeral is taking place for Abdul Aleem Faruqi. As you know, this is the 46-year-old father who paid the ultimate price in defending his family against home invaders. And yet yesterday, York Regional Police Chief Jim McSween, he held a news conference and he said a couple of things. One is that he wants citizens to comply during a home invasion and wait for police to arrive. He also said, quote, not to take matters into their own hands, end quote. It almost seems as though Chief McSween wants law-abiding citizens to be compliant victims. And of course, last week, in response to your comments about strengthening self-defense laws, the Justice Minister, Sean Fraser, stated on X, quote, this isn't the Wild West, it's Canada. Canadians deserve real solutions that make us safe, not slogans that inspire fear and chaos for Pierre's political survival, end quote. My question, Mr. Poilievre, is what is your response to the comments made by Chief McSween and Justice Minister Fraser?
Well, let's start with Sean Fraser's comments. He says it's not the Wild West out there. Oh, really? Maybe he should talk to Mr. Faruqi's family, this courageous and heroic man who came to the defense of his children, children who will be traumatized for the rest of their life by watching their father mercilessly killed by a criminal who should be in the slammer. And I hope that those children will, as much as their lives are going to be much more difficult, I hope that as they get older, they understand the true hero that their father was. I'm sure he didn't want to be defending his family. He wanted to be sleeping in bed like the rest of us, but he did it because of the instinct of a father to stand and fight and defend his home and his family from an invader. He shouldn't have had to, but liberal laws turn criminals free on our streets again and again and again. The Liberals have known this for years. Police officers, mayors, community groups have been crying out for an end to the Liberal catch and release criminal justice system. And yet Mark Carney, who's been Prime Minister for 5 months now, decided to go on vacation before ever reversing those laws, and made an even bigger mistake in appointing Sean Fraser as his Justice Minister, a man who first ruined the immigration system as the Immigration Minister under Trudeau, and then ruined the housing market as a housing minister. And to give him a third chance to screw something up, Carney has put Sean Fraser in charge of this. It's no wonder crime is raging out of control. My message is that we want to end the Wild West, lock up the criminals and throw away the key. 3 strikes, you're out. You 3 violent offenses, you go to jail and you never get out. And I'll add this. People have a right to defend their home. Your home is your castle. Someone comes into your house and threatens your family, you should have the right to take force against them to defend your family. That's what Conservatives propose with the Stand on Guard Act, and that is what we will fight for in this fall session.
Well, I think Mr. Poilievre answered half my question regarding the criticism that Mr. Fraser had for his toughening up of self-defense laws, and I totally agree with Mr. Poilievre's answer. The Wild West is here right now. Actually, it's a modified version of the Wild West, isn't it? It's only the guys with the black hats, i.e. the villains, that are armed to the teeth. The rest of us, well, dial 911 and hope that the Lone Ranger comes charging to your defense. Not sure why Mr. Poilievre didn't mention Chief McSween's statements, but I guess he has a strategy. However, I did reach out to the York Regional Police. My original goal was to get a one-on-one interview with Chief McSween. That was not going to happen, but to the credit of this police service, they did get back to me in terms of answering my 5 queries, and here they are. Question: Chief McSween said he wants citizens to comply during a home invasion and wait for police to arrive. What exactly does comply mean in the context of a home invasion? Answer: per the criminal code, citizens have the right to respond to use of force with reasonable and proportionate force when their safety or the safety of their loved ones is threatened. The criminal code allows that for their own protection. When the word comply was used, It wasn't suggested that citizens comply for fear of breaking the law by responding with force. It was suggested as a valid tactic in the hopes of preserving lives should citizens be confronted with an armed intruder. When it comes to preserving lives or defending property, citizens are reminded that material items can be replaced, but lives cannot. Citizens should avoid taking a risk to defend property when it might escalate an already dangerous situation, and ultimately, most citizens are not equipped to confront an armed intruder. Question 2. Chief McSween also said he urges citizens not to take matters into their own hands, but if an intruder invades a home in the wee hours of the morning, what is a citizen supposed to do, especially if his or her loved ones are threatened with force? There is no one piece of advice to offer to citizens who are faced with an intruder in their home, but calling 911 immediately and avoiding engagement with the intruders may be an effective tactic in many cases. Running, hiding, or fighting back may also be advisable, but situations are often dynamic, hectic, and difficult to assess in the moment. Resistance may escalate the level of force a suspect uses to achieve their goal, which in many cases may be taking property or monetary gain. Ultimately, a citizen should do what they deem necessary to preserve their own safety and the safety of their loved ones. If that involves force, that force must be reasonable and proportionate. Question 3. In light of the Lindsay home invasion last month, Jeremy McDonald fought back against an intruder, career criminal Mike Breen, who was armed with a lethal force weapon, a crossbow. McDonald was criminally charged for doing so, aggravated assault and assault with a weapon. Based on the chief's comments, had Mr. Faruqi fought back in a similar fashion, would he have been criminally charged had he survived? Answer: York Regional Police will not speculate on events that did not occur, nor do we have an update on the investigation into Mr. Faruqi's murder at this time. We urge anyone with information about this investigation to contact the homicide unit or submit a tip anonymously through Crime Stoppers of York Region, as we are entirely committed to identifying and arresting suspects in this case and bringing them to justice. Question 4. How long did it take York Regional Police to respond to the Faruqi emergency? We have heard it was approximately 13 minutes. Is this correct? Answer: York Regional Police is aware of inaccurate reports of police response time in this case. After receiving the call to 911, a York Regional Police officer was en route to the scene of the home invasion in approximately 40 seconds. The first officer arrived on scene and attempted entry into the home roughly 4.5 minutes following the 911 call and entered the home less than 2 minutes later. Roughly 9 minutes after the 911 call was first received, an officer was conducting CPR on Mr. Faruqi in an attempt to save his life. And finally, question 5, does Chief McSween and/or the York Regional Police Service support Pierre Poilievre's pledge to amend Canada's Castle Law to allow a homeowner to use lethal force if need be? Answer: York Regional Police is committed to enforcing the law as it's written in the criminal code. As laws change, police enforce them as such. So there you have it, folks. The devil really is in the details, isn't it? Once again, another police service has reiterated the points that if a citizen fights back, the use of force must be either reasonable and not unnecessary. But that's the question. How do you define reasonable or unnecessary force? There is no definition. As Pierre Poilievre noted last week, there are 9 conditions. It's very hazy. And that's why he would like to see the use of lethal force available to a homeowner, because right now, folks, it's a catch-22, isn't it?
Based on the principle that your home is your castle, we're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law, failing which one of our party's MPs will put forward such a bill. It will amend Section 34.2 of the Criminal Code, which right now says that you can defend yourself based on 9 very complicated and vague conditions. Now look, if you're defending your house, you don't have time to think through 9 different conditions. You have one condition: to protect yourself and your kids. And it is wrong for the law, for the police, and for judges to apply a complicated, indecipherable legal doctrine against you when you were only doing what is right. Our amendment instead will change Section 34.2 of the Criminal Code to say that the use of force, including lethal force, is presumed reasonable against an individual who unlawfully enters a house and poses a threat to the safety of anyone inside. The proposed amendment is reasonable and prudent. It applies only to the unlawful entry of a home and preserves proportionality. Simply put, it means you have the right to use force to defend your home and your family against someone who threatens you and who has entered illegally. This bill will also put Canada in line with other developed civilized countries. Ireland, several Australian states, Spain, the United Kingdom, and some American states already have this principle embedded. And it will make sure that Canadians are treated right for a change. We think that our role in this Parliament is to put forward good ideas. And so my message to Mr. Carney is steal our best ideas. Work with us. Let's get it done. Let's put our country first. Who cares who gets the credit? Take our ideas so that we can reverse not only the crime and chaos Liberals have caused, but let's also take these ideas to bring the cost of living, immigration, and unemployment down. Keep our people safe. Let's put our country first. Let's once again work together, all of us from all parties, to make this a country where everyone who works hard gets a beautiful house in a safe street with good food on the table, united under our proud Canadian flag. Thank you very much.
If Mr. Faruqi had lethal force and killed the home invader, well, we know what would happen. It's not conjecture, it's based on what happened with Jeremy McDonald and Lindsay. He'd be charged with aggravated assault. He'd be charged with use of a weapon. And that is not suitable. That is not just. Just like the animal kingdom, the human kingdom is governed by the rule of fight or flight. And I would argue when you are in your own house in the wee hours of the morning, you have crossed the finish line. You have no other choice but to fight. And if the fight involves lethal force, if the bad guy is dispatched to the great hereafter, I don't care. You don't want to get shot, as Premier Daniel Smith said last month in Alberta, then don't break into somebody's house late at night or in the wee hours of the morning. Let us hope that Pierre Poilievre, either as Prime Minister, can get this legislation passed, or this private member's bill gets the necessary support to be passed into law. I think the people of Canada are sick and tired of being victimized. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Folks, enough is enough. We need law reform when it comes to home invasion. As we've seen in the last few weeks, if you fight back against a home invader like Mr. McDonald and Lindsay did, well, guess what? You're going to get criminally charged. Or if you fight back against a home invader and you're not successful, you end up dead like Mr. Faruqi and Vaughn. This is disgusting, and it's got to end. Please sign the petition. CastleLawNow.com. That's CastleLawNow.com. Put your name to the growing legion of people signing that petition that are demanding that the laws change to let law-abiding citizens defend their own lives with lethal force if need be. And while you're there, folks, if you can make a donation, please do, so that Rebel News can continue to bring you the other side of the story.